right, Pat, thank you ever so much for joining me on the International Classroom podcast today. Real quick one, whereabouts in the world do we find you today?
In the Washington D.C. area, so on the East Coast of the U.S.
Fantastic. How long have you been based there for?
I've been almost in the same zip code for my entire life. So other than 3 years of my life, I've been in this area.
Fantastic. Out of curiosity, and I am someone who's very envious of your hair, by the way, considering someone who used to have such long hair, and I've seen the previous photos. What's inspired the growth in the hair?
Oh, I love questions like that. This is the 7th cycle of growing my hair long. Basically, it's this lifelong ambition to have long hair, but at some point I get tired of it and cut it all off. And then I live with short hair again until I muster up the courage to enter the growth phase again. So that's ultimately, I like the way it feels on my head, and I hate winter. So the more more hair on my head and the neck, the better.
Which phase are you in at the moment then?
I'm over peak hair and edging closer and closer to cutting it all off.
Okay.
Yeah.
I had my hair. I probably had about 4 or 5 inches on yours, and I cut it all off in August.
There you go.
I'm kind of at that point now. I'm like, it's all right, but you just miss it. Sometimes you just miss it, don't you?
Yeah, life is short. If you have hair, grow it, use it, do something fun with it, right?
Yeah, definitely. Fantastic. Yeah, I'm all for that. I don't know if my wife would completely agree with you. As soon as I cut my hair off, she was like, oh, thank God. Like she was happy. She was happy it all went. So I think maybe that's a sign for me to maybe leave it as it is. But speaking of change, in terms of like we talk about there, you once were a teacher. It seems like I'm going to say many moons ago. But what was your subject specialism?
I taught for 13 years. Special education, science, and computer science, middle school and high school, and obviously not all at the same time.
But you've transitioned out of the classroom now. What inspired the move away from full-time teaching?
Is actually, I don't know how common this is. I had the opportunity to do what I was doing in the classroom at an international scale, with a lot of support and resources. So I took it. And so what I mean there is that I was teaching computer science up until school year 2012, 2013. And around that time, Code.org was being created. I obviously resonated with the mission of Code.org because I was dedicated to that mission in my classroom, in my school district, in my state. But the opportunity to join Code.org presented a platform to take that mission global and with like-minded individuals and do that full time. And so it was both a very easy decision as well as a hard one, simply because I had already in my mind decided that I was going to be teaching for the rest of my life, 13 years in. So it was hard to kind of shake that off, but it was easy knowing that I'd be doing the same thing, just, at a different scale.
Yeah. So for those people out there that haven't come across code.org, what's probably the best way you could summarize what it does and what it's about?
Most people will know code.org as a coding platform, right? But that is actually just the surface of what we do. We mainly do 4 things. We provide free curriculum, K through 12, for computer science, for AI, a little bit of data science, a little bit of web design, a little bit of, just general computing content, and even digital literacy. But that's K through 12. But that curriculum consists of student resources, teacher resources, a learning platform, a coding environment, tutorials, videos, and lots of other kind of stuff in the curriculum package. That's one thing that we do. That's all free. The second thing that we do is we train teachers to use that curriculum. And we partner with 60 regional partners in the U.S. and over 100 partners outside the U.S. And over the last 10 years, we've trained just in the US and in person, we've trained close to probably 125,000 teachers. And that doesn't include, obviously, virtual, and it does include outside the US. That's the second thing we do. The third thing we do is awareness work, which a lot of us know, a lot of people know us for the Hour of Code, which is a campaign to demystify computer science. It has served billions of hours and hundreds of millions of students. And then we also do lots of different events, engagements with celebrities, ranging from, heads of state to sports celebrities and musical celebrities. And then we do our secret sauce, which is a lot of policy and advocacy work. And so we have a 6-member government affairs team that engages with policymakers, legislators, Ministry of Education officials in the US, state superintendents, district superintendents, state board members to pass policy that promotes computer science education. And these days, plus AI in education.
So in the 10 years that you've been there, I mean, has computer science and coding in itself changed, especially in the last few years? Because at one point, I saw a meme that went around. Actually, it was a guy, and he was in this library, and there was the TV playing about AI and jobs, and he's taken out all these different books. And the first one he goes to is like coding, and it was like, we were told in school that the job to go to if you want to be successful and make money is computer science and coding. Have you seen a change in that recently?
Have I seen a change in from teachers, from the public? What?
From both sides. So let's think about a public demand first. Is there less public demand for it?
I mean, I don't have any data on it. You see a bunch of blog posts or comics, like what you just described.
Yeah.
And to, I guess, let's say to people in the know, when you have an app that can do a skill that like writing or coding or lots of other things, you immediately think, oh, wow, I guess people don't need to do that thing anymore, which is obviously false. It just means the nature of that profession, that field changes. And if you think about it, our world is not getting any less digital or reliant on computing. So I'm thinking that computer science education and the need to learn to code still will be quite important, potentially more important, but it will just look different. That's all.
Yeah, definitely. So from everything you've said there, it sounds like you are in demand, extremely busy. And I can't help but notice behind you that I'm going to call them sneakers because it's the very American way. For the UK, I'd probably call them trainers and get told off. Would you class yourself as a sneakerhead? Do you find that that's something you enjoy when you get time off?
Oh gosh, Alex, this is such a fun podcast. Alex, not one person in the last several years since I decided to, when the pandemic started, I realized I'm going to be on Zoom really, really all the time. So I thought, I don't have a cool bookcase, but I do have cool shoes. So yeah. I'm going to, I put that up there. No one has ever asked me that question. And if you ask me if I'm a sneakerhead, I refused being a sneakerhead up until maybe 3 years ago, because during my time, that's when sneakerheadness really grew. I'm 45 years old. And I just didn't want to be part of that culture, when people would line up and fight each other for shoes. I didn't like that. I didn't like that with my students. But in my older age, I now realize the beauty of these things. And so these are actually pretty special versions. And in fact, I just bought this one that's at my feet right now. I haven't worn it outside, but so yes, I guess I would be called a sneakerhead.
So what were those black and white ones that you just held up then?
These are just, gosh, this is turning into a sneaker podcast. So for those who are listening who are into sneakers, you're going to love this. But so these are Air Jordan 1 mids. Now, mids are very looked down upon because it's either a low or a high, and the mids came out much, much later, and they're not really original Air Jordans. And these in particular are not original Air Jordans because they don't follow an original colorway. For those people who are just listening to this, these are like black and white, and they have the elephant print in different places. I just like them. They were on sale, so I bought them. As a sneakerhead, I like to buy just what I want. I don't care about whether it's popular or whether other people like it. I just buy what I want.
No, they're grand. There's a guy, I think my kids must have been watching it on YouTube, and there's a guy who personalizes the different sneakers. So it's really interesting to watch. He'll go around, he takes his scalpel and he's taking out the stitches, takes the laces, and he's like taking like basketball parts and sticking them on, really personalizing them. So I see lots of social media posts about it. So it kind of caught my attention, as did, now I know it's not a transformer. It looks like it's a character from manga.
Voltron. This is up until maybe 5 years ago. If my house was on fire, I would have ran and grabbed that and with some other things, maybe one of those pairs of shoes. So that is a Lego Voltron. So Lego has this series called Lego Ideas, and people can submit and make like things with Legos and submit it, and Lego will, manufacture it and sell it en masse and probably give a percentage to the creator. So this is Lego Voltron, and what I loved about it, it's a Lego version of another toy. So it's a toy version of another toy, and it's fully functional. It transforms and everything. It's so ingenious, and so I had to buy it. Alex, I had a question for you. I warned you that I had a question. So Lego creating, shoe collecting, these are in my category of jobs that I would do that are very much out of the realm of jobs that I'm trained to do, right?
Yeah.
Alex, for you, what are give me an example of those types of jobs, the things that you could consider them dream jobs or whatever, but either way, they are things that no one would expect you to do and really don't make sense professionally per your experience.
So that's a tricky one, because I always thought if I wasn't teaching, like when I was a youngster, I wanted to be a professional rugby player. But unfortunately, I had too many injuries, broken bones, and so that cut my dream short pretty quick. But before that, I always wanted to be a pilot. So flying, and actually in the military. So I wanted to go in the military. But again, that idea of with working with sports and getting injured. But if it was a job wise, I'm going to say it, and most people are like, it probably fits in with what I've got here. But I would actually work in film or TV. I would love to be like a head of cinematography or someone that's something along those lines. I like videography. We were saying beforehand. And one of my favorite films with Tom Cruise and Jamie Foxx is Collateral. And I really love it for the cinematography and just how LA is shot at nighttime. And this is before drones, obviously before drones and easy of overhead shots. You're just following this taxi around, and just the change of scenery and how it's shot. It's one of my favorite cinematography films. And so for me, I'd love to work in something like that, where, you are creating and kind of bringing a storytelling element into it through obviously the way you shoot things and the cameras you use and the stories you can tell with it. It's just, I'd probably go with something like that, which for some people, if they know me, know that I'm a real camera geek and love stuff. I'm like, oh, that makes sense. And for those people maybe listening or watching for the first time, it's like, maybe they could see that in me, maybe not. But I always enjoyed that.
With these video generative AI models coming out, like Sora, OpenAI Sora. Yeah. Let's say Sora was already out and it was available for you, and it really did everything that we've seen it do in demos. Would you still want to create a movie or a video or whatever in the old-fashioned way, or would you just be like, this is the new way, and I'm only gonna do this? Like, what would be a reason why, other than like the ability to customize even to a greater extent? Why would someone go the old-fashioned way versus a newer Gen AI way?
See, I would probably want to use both. And I'm a believer in terms of, and I say this to the kids, it's like, I would rather have it and not need it than need it and not have it. And what I mean by that is, what if, I don't know, the internet's down one day? What if there's no electricity and I'm like, I've still got to go and create something? It's like, well, then I've got the skill sets to be able to go and do it in a traditional way. I can pick up a camera. I know how to compose a shot. I can set all my parameters on this. And you can really capture things in the moment that, AI doesn't, I don't think. And we're only seeing, obviously, its first ideations, but I do both, and we're already seeing it in Hollywood, aren't we, in terms of like crowds. We can't get this space. We can't get, 1,000 people into an area. So AI can generate the crowds for us. So we're already seeing this co-creation, this co-creation of the traditional and the new. And so I'd probably look at doing it both. I would utilize it for this and go, that can save me money for doing it that way. And then the other times, it's not at a point yet where when you want to capture emotion, when you want to capture reaction or, just that certain elements, I still think the traditional way is still going to be the way forward. It's a combination of the two. And I mean, you're going to be seeing that, I suppose, aren't you, at some point? And you kind of are bridging that gap, I suppose, aren't you, with the projects you've got going on in terms of computer science and coding, and then how AI is also coming into that to marry up. What about yourself? Do you kind of go a traditional route where it's good to know everything? I want to know the different ways, or do you kind of feel that actually the combination and co-creation of the two is a way moving forward?
Well, anyone's going to say co-creation these days. But I'm not going to go that route. So the answer is co-creation, but I want to actually talk about students. So Alex, you and I are adults. Like, you're not a cinematographer right now, but I think you know the basics and you could probably pick it up very quickly. And let's just say actually you are a cinematographer. You've already learned it. You're an expert at it. The problem with students in AI and education is that kids are learning these things for the first time. And so how we introduce these tools has way more consequence for them than for us, because we already know how to do the basic things. We already have that understanding. I'm super afraid. Let's imagine, Alex, that you were teaching a cinematography class, an intro to cinematography class, kids who've never picked up a camera. And OpenAI's Sora is available to everyone for free, version 5.0, right? It's excellent. It's excellent. You'd be hard pressed to not want to expose your kids to it so that they can make beautiful things and really reflect like their ideas in their head, and share it with other people and really communicate things that would normally take them months or maybe years, right? Mm. For me, I'm thinking there is still huge value in just the learning process rather than just the outcome itself. The problem is I don't even, does that mean that we just go traditional for a little bit and then introduce the tools? When exactly do we introduce the tools? How do we introduce the tools? How do we know that we're not having a long-lasting detrimental impact on a student's development of basic cinematography skills, right? How do we know that? And then lastly, Alex, does it even matter? Basically, does it matter that we are having a long-term detrimental impact on the canon of cinematography skills from pre-generative AI? Because it's not like generative AI is going away. So maybe we just don't care about those basic skills or the basic concepts anymore.
It's a fascinating one, isn't it? I love that. It's a great question. Do we care? Because you've got generational gap, haven't we? In terms of, I kind of find I'm similar age to yourself, and we're at that midpoint, whereas grandparents to grandchildren, that generational gap and the difference of what could be, 60, 70 years, there's a huge, I'm going to say it's not necessarily a skills gap, but maybe it is. But there is that gap, isn't there, about what they learn in terms of woodworking skills. Let's take that, for example, like woodworking and being able to even change a tire. The things that we kind of see as what we used to say is almost traditional skill sets of, well, can you, let's say, change a circuit? So if you need to fix a plug in the house, that was always one. I remember that. Where you need to be able to fix a plug, you need to change your tire, you need to change the oil in your car, woodwork. So you need to be able to make things. If you don't know what a 2x4 is, and if you don't know how to, set it apart to put up a stud wall, generational skills. Whereas now, like my children, I've got two daughters, 10 and 8. It's like they don't need those generational skills. So is it? And I'm trying to kind of think about what you've said. Do they care? Or me in the middle as a parent, I'm in the middle of those generations. Do I care that the children and students of the future can't do those things? And I suppose it's really, should we? If they're not taught, are they lost skills? It's almost like an evolution. If we don't use it, are we losing it? And I don't necessarily have the answer. I think but it is something definitely worth thinking and discussing.
Yeah. We won't have the answers to these things. I'm just trying to figure out how do we get early signals that we're going the wrong way, and then correct. Because we're going to make lots of mistakes in this new AI moment. I just want to make sure that we're monitoring things so that when we do make those mistakes, we can course correct.
Yeah, definitely. So let's think about that, because historically we've seen lots of mistakes. We've seen course corrections through there. So if you could time travel, if you could go back to a moment in time into classrooms or into, business, where would you choose to go to or sneak into, and what would you probably want to take from it?
So why would I be doing this time travel?
So if you're time traveling back, just thinking about course corrections and thinking about things that have taken place in history, or somewhere that you would like to go and kind of be involved, to be a fly on the wall in, a historical, whether it's a classroom, whether it's a company, where would you like to go to? Where would you like to listen into and maybe try and either put something in or take something out from?
Okay, so I'm going to approach this from like, if I could go back in time and fix something now with hindsight, the hindsight that I have now. Well, I mean, this is on my mind all the time. In fact, it's on the minds of many people. So I would fix social media and smartphones in schools. So I left the classroom in 2013. At this point, obviously smartphones and social media were a definite thing, but I remember it still being, it's not as full blown even as it is now. Like I go into a school now and every kid in the hallway is on their phones or on headphones. They're not just even like sneaking in class. They're like, it's just like an accepted thing. It almost feels like schools just gave in. We're like, you know what? We're not going to win. Just do what you want. And we'll cross our fingers that it's not going to be that bad. Well, it is that bad. And there's like this like really weird attention span issue. I'm not saying that shorter attention span, but it's like this distracted attention span. It actually has a term that experts call it. But like kids have this like weird attention span thing going on these days. They're so addicted to these to social media, to TikTok and all that. And, there's no causal studies, but there's lots of correlation between that and links to depression, anxiety, and lots of other things as well. And I would go back in time and I would have told schools, hey, look, this is not just a family thing or a thing for industry to fix. You're going to have to step in and figure out where in the curriculum we talk about these things with kids. And by the way, yes, let's just ban these things during the school day. Like, I don't care. Even like the most EdTech-y teachers who can figure out how to use it for good. I'm sorry, we're just going to ban it because the consequences are too great.
Yeah, I mean, you work in obviously tech space. You've got computer science, you've got AI. With the people that you work with, what do you notice about their screen time or their phone usage?
Well, actually, I want to clarify one thing for all of my social media loving friends out there. I'm not saying ban social media. I'm saying ban it during the school day. Yeah. Ban it during the school day. And again, I'm sure there would be great uses for it and all that. And maybe we can open those up. But by and large, I think it's just a mostly a negative thing during the school day. And so back to your question, Alex, what was it again?
In terms of, let's say, adults, and for you that works obviously with tech and with companies, what is it? Do you see sort of lots of screen time or phone time with those individuals as well, or do you see a difference?
I can only talk about myself, Alex.
Okay.
Yeah,
so tell us about yours then.
I work remotely, Alex, so I cannot tell. I don't see my on their phones or whatever, and we're all engaging with a screen anyway. So that's just what it is. I'll tell you, I stopped my Facebook. I didn't delete Facebook, but I stopped checking it maybe 4 or 5 months ago because I realized every moment I wanted to just relax, I opened up my phone and opened up Facebook to check out my sneaker group posts, my biking, cycling group posts, my whatever. I was constantly on the marketplace looking for new bike parts. All my biking friends understand what that's all about. So it just wasn't healthy, and I wasn't engaging with my family as much. It's just, and this is me as an adult who should know better. So I deleted Instagram probably after a month. I was very late to Instagram because I knew I didn't want to do it. When I got it because I wanted to see bike stuff and shoe stuff. But then I quickly deleted it because they kept on sending me, posts from pretty people that I did not want to see. And frankly, I understood how like when people on Instagram, they just look so good and life is so great. And honestly, I didn't want that in my life. And I feel bad for all the people who are, I don't know, whether it's addicted or influenced or affected by it. It's just not healthy. It's just not healthy.
They talk about the dopamine hits, don't they? In terms of lots of research that's done, lots of people talking about it in terms of when a phone pings or when everything goes off, it's like that instant gratification, chasing the dopamine hits. That's why people are always on it. And it becomes habitual. Like you said, you sit down, and I'm guilty of it. I'm super guilty of it. If I sit down on the sofa, I'll give you an example. And I've watched this. I've purposely done it. So that's habitual, me consciously thinking about it. But a normal habit would be if I go, I don't know, let's say I'm in the doctor's, in the waiting room, or wherever it may be, and we're all sat down, nothing's going on. First thing you do, phone comes out, and you're just scrolling, mindlessly scrolling. Because, well, hang on a minute, how could I possibly sit in silence without a screen in front of my face to draw my attention away? And I found that I'm probably the same. I've tried to, and I really need to consciously make it the effort to do it, but spend time disconnected from it, or have a certain period of time in my day where I can go, right, that's when I'll answer emails, or that's when I'll answer messages. Because it's that distraction thing. A ping goes off, you open the phone, it's a WhatsApp, I'll answer it here. And I've done this numerous times where it's like, actually I've answered it, and then I've been distracted by something else and I've not got back to the person I should have messaged, and 24 hours has gone by and I'm saying, I'm really sorry, I saw this, but something else happened. And because you're right, it's far too easily distracted, far too, I think a lack of self-awareness of being in the present moment. And it'd be an interesting one. Imagine if that's what we should do. Imagine if, for all of a sudden reason that the cell towers went down, or 4G, 5G stopped working for 24 hours, then we'll see how the society copes with that, wouldn't we? Yeah.
I mean, there's parts of me, well, I mean, not parts of me, all the time. I dream of a much simpler tech life, and a much more local life as well. It is awesome that we can keep in touch with people around the world, that Alex and I can have this interaction. I mean, it is wonderful, but at what cost? And is it really I don't know, is it, I would love to just be part of a small town and live a small life and, love the people around me and have them love me and, do great things for our small local community. That's fine by me.
You just travel around on your bike.
Yeah. And I didn't have to drive as well. Oh, that'd be wonderful.
So curious, is it a road bike or is it a mountain bike? What's your passion for cycling?
It's all bikes, but mostly road biking. Yes.
Yeah. Sounds like my father-in-law. He is mad about road cycling, road biking, to the point where he's just had his birthday, and we were like, "So what do you want?" And he went, "I want some new wheels." And we were just like, "No," because you're nodding your head like the cost. He's properly into it. So the cost of new just wheels alone, and we're talking 4 figures just for wheels.
Yes. I was about to give you a recommendation, actually, Alex.
I'll take this. Yeah, I'll take the recommendation.
Okay, well, this is for all the bike lovers out there as well. Probably the best bang for buck modern carbon wheel in terms of speed for a road bike is the Zip 404.
I've written that down.
Yes, and in pounds, I'll go with pounds. It's probably around 1,000 pounds on sale, I would say.
For one or for 4?
For 2. I mean, for 2 wheels, for the full pair. And I said on sale because luckily during the pandemic, there was a huge demand and low supply. And so they overcorrected coming out of the pandemic. And now they have huge backlog to sell off. So they're almost always 20 to 30% off.
Fantastic. I've made a note of that. I can pass it on. So are you out on the bike regularly? Do you get to go out 2-3 times a week, or?
Oh boy, I hope your listeners care about this stuff, but I actually have a very low tolerance for cold. So I've been outside once in the last 4.5 months, and I bike indoors on a smart trainer. That's what they call it. You connect it to the rear, you take out the rear wheel and you connect your bike on it. And I bike on that 3 to 5 times a week. Yeah,
we used to have one. I think over here in the UK at the time, I had one called a turbo trainer.
Oh yeah, so that's a general name. A turbo. Yeah. Yes.
Oh, fantastic. So are you like keen on Strava? Do you find that when you're out in the summer, are you Strava? Are you chasing some of those crowns for certain areas?
I used to, but I've just gotten a lot busier, and things have to go. So basically, being part of the Strava community has really gone down. I don't even post. I don't care to post. I don't. It's actually quite freeing to not want to compare yourself to friends who are doing 100-mile during the week rides or anything like that. Yeah. So yes, it's very freeing.
It's got me thinking now, because obviously across Europe, there's like the Tour de France, there's the one in Italy, I can't remember the names. We even have the bikes in Dubai. Are there any like main sort of road cycling events or tours that happen across America?
Yes, a number of them. They're mostly, the most popular ones are called gravel rides. So they're on dirt and gravel and all that. It's like a off-road version of road biking. Very, very, very popular. In fact, I biked in Dubai. There's that bike park through the...
Al Qudra.
Yes, that's it. Yes, that track. Oh, beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Yes, rented a bike at that bike store right there, and then rode my bike and had enough water, thankfully, to make it through the long loop.
You did the long one. Fantastic. Did you see many camels?
No, I didn't see any camels.
Huh. Disappointed with that.
I didn't see a camel at all while in Dubai.
So going back to it then, because obviously, listen, we like the generalized topic. We like to get to know the people we're speaking with. So we found out you're a bit of a sneakerhead. You like your Lego. We can understand obviously why the hair gets cut in the summer for the out and cycling. Obviously, we don't want any of that drag, as physics teachers know. We want to make sure that you streamline through the air. And the cycling itself. But obviously we've learned about code.org, but there's something else that you do that you post about Teach AI. And it's a fascinating concept. If you were giving your elevator pitch, not that you need to necessarily, but for people out there listening and discovering this for the first time, what would be your elevator pitch to those people about Teach AI?
Teach AI is an initiative led by code.org, ETS, ISTE, Khan Academy, and the World Economic Forum to rethink education in the age of AI by guiding education leaders and policymakers per teaching with AI and teaching about AI. We have four main areas we work in: policy, awareness, community building, and capacity building. And we lead projects like the AI Guidance for Schools Toolkit, a policy resource that's coming out in 2 weeks, and a bunch of other things, including an AI literacy framework that's in the works, guidance on the future of CS education in the age of AI, and opportunities for education leaders and the EdTech creators to get together in neutral ground to have real conversations. That's what we do.
I love that neutral ground. In my head, I've got this scene from Anchorman 2 where all like the news crew are like going in for battle and just everyone from these different AI companies turn up. Neutral ground. Does that mean so they don't all start into a mass fight? Is that what you mean by neutral ground?
Well, not a fishing market for the ed tech people to sell to the education leaders. That's what I mean. These groups aren't fighting. It's usually, one wants to sell to the other one, and the other one is just trying to learn about this topic.
It's fine. You just ruined my illusion there. It's fine.
Okay.
I'm joking.
No battle.
It'd be amazing if they did. There we go. That's what we should do. If you want to be the AI company on top, just send out your.
And the thing is, with Sora, we could just ask Sora to create a video of that, and it would actually be pretty good. I mean, to see that, create a video of EdTech AI EdTech developers and education leaders from ministries of education and education agencies around the world battling it out in medieval Japanese style, something like that. I don't know.
There we go. There's an idea for them in their next showcase. That would be amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Would be amazing. So what's been the impact of that so far for you? I imagine I've seen some of the work, and that's kind of what drew me to it. It's been fascinating and really insightful, but obviously on the ground and with the people you're working with, what's been the impact?
There's one that came to mind immediately. I told you about this AI Guidance for Schools toolkit, which released in October 2023. Now it's a global toolkit and it's being used around the world and translated. But in the US, before the toolkit, there were 2 states that had state-level AI guidance for their school systems. And afterwards, there are now 6 more, so for a total of 8. And of the 6 that created guidance after the toolkit was released, 5 of them actually used the toolkit in some way, shape, or form. And so that is very pleasing. That's exactly what you want out of a toolkit, for people to use it as a tool. And so it currently is, and that's the only the major impact metric that I have for the toolkit. I'm not able to measure the number of school districts in the U.S. that are using it, because in the U.S. it's a highly decentralized system, and to the school you even have like independent decision making.
Yeah. So I'm flipping. Are you a tea or a coffee drinker, Pat?
Neither.
Ooh.
Yeah.
What's your drink of choice then?
Well, it's funny actually. The last time I drank coffee consistently was actually in Dubai, because of and it was that drink. What do you call that? It's like a local coffee. It's very.
I know there's a few different varieties of it. It was definitely a coffee, not the tea.
Maybe it was the tea. It's the common thing. It's literally the locals drink this thing all the time. Yeah. It's very dark, and
it's like Turkish coffee.
It might. Yes, it's like that. It's like Turkish coffee.
I'm just finding what it is. I can't remember the name.
I enjoyed it greatly, but I committed blasphemy with it. I put it on ice and added, I think, a bunch of sugar. Oh, karak.
Karak. I was just going to say it's karak, yeah.
Yeah. So
it's tea.
Yeah. Oh, it's tea. That makes sense. Well, it came in hot, and as a good American, I put it on ice and changed the whole thing. But I mean, it's
like a true innovator that you are, Pat. There you go.
Yes, that's right. That's right. Yes, I a lot.
Okay, so that was the last time you drank. So was there a reason that you ever gave it up, or did you just never get into it?
I like Instagram. I refused, even though I knew it would be great. and I didn't want to get addicted to it. So I didn't want to rely on something. And everyone I tell that to, most serious coffee drinkers are like, "Yep, I get it."
Yeah.
Yeah. So I didn't.
Yeah.
I saw the trajectory. I already saw the future. I'm a person who's highly dopamine influenced, and I didn't need another stimulant in my life, basically.
Yeah. To bounce from one addiction to another, as a lot of people say, isn't it? They go from one to the next. Yeah, I'm like that. I like coffee, but I can just happily drink decaf. So I will drink decaffeinated coffee for a while now. I got quite heavily into, I just like coffee. So I kind of steered clear of that, and not even apart from the Carrick. So let's say, what would be your order at Starbucks then, or is it, or do you avoid the brands as well? Do you kind of keep to the smaller ones? What's your go-to drink there?
These days it's probably some iced matcha latte kind of thing, a dirty matcha latte. So, an espresso thrown into the matcha thing.
I love it. Now, the reason I ask, there is a reason to this, because I wanted you to imagine that, let's just say, we're in a parallel universe. And in that case, we've got AI operating as our barista. You've gone into that. You've asked for your dirty matcha. You've got AI and computers. Are you going to ask it for a drink? Are you going to take the same drink from the AI, or are you just thinking, this is too much for me?
Oh, I'll take a drink from an AI for sure. I've already used AI to help me make cocktails, and it's done pretty well. So cocktails, for any mixologists out there, as you know, it's just so many ingredients that you could put together, and they're just lying in front of you. And sometimes you're just kind of stuck with the classics, and you want to make something new. And so I've used AI to help me with that.
You want to give us an example?
Yeah, I had some like lychee liqueur and vodka or gin or something left over from some things. And, I iterated with it maybe like twice or three times, and then came out with something that actually was okay. It didn't have a name.
Obviously needs a name. So if you've invented a new drink there, Pat, then you should be able to name it.
Yeah. I mean, that's a good question. Right, Alex? Like, if an AI came up with it, but with three of my prompts and back and forth, do I get to name it? I mean, yeah, of course I get to name it. I'm the human, but did I create it or not? Right. I don't know. I created it with the help of an AI. Frankly, all this citation attribution stuff that people are talking about these days, there'll be a world where we just assume that there's no question. Did you use AI or not? I mean, it could be a question, but people won't bother asking it so much. Honestly, it's just kind of expected, and if you didn't use it, it's like, okay, but no big deal if you did,
No, exactly. I think even now, I think someone posted this on LinkedIn last week and said, should educators be making it clear if they've used AI to create lessons or to create worksheets or anything else like that? And my simple response was, well, no. Why should I be making it publicly clear, or to my students, that I've used AI or a resource? It's no different to me than using the internet to do research, or into a book, or getting an image off Google. It's just a different resource to create to, engage, improve, develop, learn, the students' outcomes. It's an interesting one. There's a lot of sort of ownership, intellectual property debate going on about it, isn't it? So that's another one that's probably not going to be solved for a little bit, but is an interesting question nonetheless. So just out of curiosity, with the fields that you work in and the time you've been in education, and with the people you get to work with, what is probably, if you can think of an example, one of the most unconventional things that you have seen in your time during education?
You said unconventional? Unconventional,
yeah.
Unconventional. I haven't seen anything unconventional. That's what education is these days. It's just the same old over and over and over again. Oh, if you're talking about, are you talking about most recently? Like, I'm thinking about my classroom experience. I mean, even if it was like, cool projects with, I don't know, that are like really culturally relevant. I mean, that's I guess that could be called unconventional. I mean, I had my students create apps for real people. Like there was this, and games for real people. There was this group, it's called Legacies of War. I don't know if they're still around. They helped demine the bomb, the unexploded ordnance from the Vietnam War in Cambodia and Laos. And actually Laos specifically, I think. And then, and so we connected up with them and we created an app version of their website. And this was back in the day when web design wasn't really mobile first or mobile anything. So that was pretty cool. And, we created games. There was an earthquake in Japan in 2010 or 11 or something like that. And we created a game to showcase like the effects of the earthquake. We submitted it to a competition. So I guess those are the most unconventional things. Doing things for real audiences in school. That's pretty unconventional.
Yeah, it is. It sounds pretty cool as well. One of the benefits, like we were talking about the podcast and the benefit of podcasts earlier, it's like being able to share knowledge and value, because the things that you're talking about there, like the idea of making and creating, I think we're losing that a little bit in classrooms now in terms of the skills. We mentioned that earlier, but this idea of creating unconventional activities for students to develop skills that aren't always just necessarily related to, exam outcomes or, just this idea of knowledge input without very little output. So this idea of hands-on creation that you mentioned there is, I think it's a skill that's being lost in teaching. Maybe that's just me looking at it from an international side where lots of pressure comes on to get really good exam results. And we miss those things, but it's something that if I had a bit of a magic wand to wave over curriculum and education, I'd probably want to do that. Which kind of leads me into the question for you. I mean, if you had that magic wand, Pat, if you were able to wave it over, and I know you mentioned earlier about the phones and being able to change that, but if you had a wand and you could change parts of the curriculum or parts of how the US do certain things, what was it that you would want to change for better?
This will probably be my last question, by the way, Alex, because I have to go.
That's fine.
My answer to that would be to reduce the number of things that we expect kids to know. And that means standards, frameworks, whatever. So in Dubai, I was consulting with the Ministry of Education, helping them revise their what they call the CCDI curriculum, which is design, computer science, engineering, a bunch of stuff mushed together. It was just chock full of stuff, which is all good. But when you fill the curriculum that much, you leave very little room for teachers to go off on tangents like what we've done in this podcast, or to do like things that really reflect students' interests, which change year to year or even week to week, and let alone just hands-on projects. It's just book learning in the end, which, as we know, is not fun for anyone. So that's what I would change. I would just reduce the number of things that we expect people to know. Like not the number of subjects, just the number of things in those subjects.
Yeah. Perfect. Well, Pat, I appreciate you're a busy man, highly in demand and things to do. So yeah, thank you so much for giving up your time and coming to speak with me today about all sorts of things in the classroom and life as well. And really appreciate it. So thank you ever so much.
Yeah. Thanks for having me, Alex. Thanks for asking me about my shoes. See you later.
See you, man.